All right. Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to our agent roleplay. Excited to get started with you here. This agent roleplay is for everyone who wants to come on. You can submit your questions or your objections that you're getting, or just questions that you're getting from clients. You can submit that to me ahead of time, and I'll cover them here on the call. I've got a couple of those to cover, and then we'll always have partly an agenda of items that by default we're going to cover. We're going through here methodically through the best scripts, the best dialogues, really the best practice scripts and dialogues and objection handlers that the top agents, the top real estate agents in the United States are using on a daily basis to be the most effective with prospects, be the most effective with their clients, and really come from a place of contribution. That's the heart of any of these, right? Is how well can you walk someone through making decisions, and how effective are you at succinctly describing how the process works and helping people to make decisions. That's part of our job here as real estate agents, is to help people make wise decisions. And we're in a unique industry where most people don't buy or sell a home that often. It's literally like every 7 to 10 years in most areas, sometimes longer in the higher price range areas. And so we want to have these scripts down. We want to have these on automatic reflex, which means you need to practice them. You need to practice, practice, practice. And so I'm going to be sharing my screen here in a moment with the playbook. All these playbooks reside in our agent hub, or Attraction agent hub. So if you're ever wondering, where did you get that? Where is this screen that you're sharing? Where is this playbook? We call them playbooks. They're right in there. You're going to be able to have access to those as well. So without further ado, we're going to jump in. All right, here we go. Okay, so we've got the leads playbook here, and today we're going to focus on buyer objection handlers. Now, why are we focusing on buyer objection handlers at the prospect or lead stage? We're focusing on this because it's specifically in these handlers where you're going to avoid what I would call death by 1,000 cuts. Okay, so initially over the phone, whether this is a referral, it's probably not a sphere of influence, but it's maybe a referral from a sphere of influence, a referral from a past client, a referral from an agent, or literally a lead that, you've made a compelling offer to them on why we should get together and, take down their criteria, find the best deals for them. That's not the only thing buyers want, but it's the number one thing that most buyers cite, is they want the best deal possible on the best house possible for their situation, right? Whether that's $500,000 or $5 million. Buyers just want to know that they're not overpaying for homes. So these handlers are super important for you, again, to have at the tip of your tongue, practice enough until they just become an automatic reflex for you when you get asked the question. This way, you can be present in the conversation, you can be actively listening, and you don't have to think of what you're going to say next. Okay, so practice, practice, practice. The other reason we practice these handlers on these questions or objections is because we don't want to have death by 1,000 cuts. It's very unlikely that as we get into these handlers, somebody is going to, ask all of these questions or have all of these objections. Most people, maybe they have one or two questions / objections, but really they don't have a ton. They don't have 8. If somebody really were putting up a lot of buyer objection handlers, buyer objections or buyer questions, I would tend to question how motivated they really are, like emotional motivation. Because as long as you've described what it is that you can provide them, the benefit that you can provide them, why they should even consider meeting with you, as long as you've described that well, then they're not going to have many objections if they're motivated and if they've got proper timing. So sometimes when I get that, I have to go back and check on motivation and timing. We're not going to cover that today. We're just going to cover the handler. So objection number 1, I'm already searching the internet, or I'm already searching the MLS. I'm already searching Zillow, right? And so there's a few different ones here that you can choose from. Again, any of these objections or questions or put-offs we want to have one, two, maybe three different handlers that we can pull out of our tool belt to address their question. So let me just go through these quick. Number one, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, yeah, I get that. You're searching Zillow.com, is it? Okay. I'm not sure if you're aware, but actually party websites, like the ones that start with www, they're public facing websites and they're often delayed by 24, 48, 72 hours. So if the website you're on, or the app that you're on, it literally doesn't say MLS on it, or it has a www in front of it, typically, you're actually not on the MLS, not on the real MLS. And so what we have found, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, is, and I'm sure you'd agree that the best deals, they tend to go quickly, often before they hit any of the public facing websites or apps. And you did want the best deal possible for you and your family, didn't you? Okay. So that's exactly why we should meet. So there's an example of that reasoning. Now, people are going to say, is there really a delay? Yes, you will go if you go on Zillow or Redfin or some of those, they're going to say updated 8 minutes ago, but that's sometimes updated. Sometimes that just means that their server side has updated their website. It doesn't actually mean that they're doing a live data feed from the MLS in the moment because there's so many records to update. Now, I'm sure some MLSs, or sorry, some portions of the country have a stronger, MLSs have a stronger data feed with Zillow or the others. That's fine. But there's more to it than that here that's going on. A lot of the delay is coming from when people are searching on Zillow, and I'm going into the reasoning a bit here just so we have a firm foundation on these handlers. When they go to Zillow, they don't actually get updated down to the minute when there's been a new property on the market or there's been a big price change. Zillow doesn't have their permission to proactively email them 1 minute after that happens. Like, let's say a new listing comes on the market today at 1:01 p.m., you would get an email at 1:02 p.m. We have that ability under this ASAP feature in our MLS where we can set up a buyer like they are a real estate agent on my real estate team, where they get direct access to the back end of the MLS alert system. And so that's what we're describing here when we say delay. It could literally be a delay between the Zillow or Redfin servers versus the MLSs, the specific MLS in your area. Otherwise, the problem that we run into a lot is they don't have an email going out to them, even if they had it daily. It wouldn't go out until maybe 7, 8 a.m. the next morning. Well, the best deals are going to get hopefully scooped up if they've got a really powerful buyer's agent working with them. That buyer's agent at least going to get their foot in the door, at least not be late to the party, and if anything, hopefully secure that property over, having like 8 offers or 10 offers. Maybe it's not zero other offers, but maybe they're only in competition with 1 or 2 other offers instead of 8. Okay, and that's what we're trying to secure for them in our approach, but they're not going to understand that fully over the phone. So over the phone, we're just going to introduce the concept that, again, they may have some skepticism around. They thought, hey, I'm searching Zillow.com, right? I mean, this is exactly what realtors use, and everything is updated for me, and I get alerted of everything in real time. Most of the time, no. Most of the time, no. Okay, so let's go into a couple of other handlers on this. Second handler. It's kind of like all those online diagnosis websites like WebMD and stuff, which, do you think those will do a more accurate job of diagnosing you, say in an online chat, or versus having an in-person visit to your family physician? Which one do you think would be more accurate, an online chat or an in-person visit? Okay, the third one. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I get that you're, browsing the internet. Then, I'm sure you're aware, Mr. Buyer, right? The best deals, they go first, right? Okay. Then you need a method, in my opinion, you need a method of getting priority notification of hot new listings as they first come on the market or have a big price adjustment. And unfortunately, if you're looking on those public facing websites, the information is already normally at least 24 to 72 hours old. And some sellers don't even put their houses on the public websites anymore, or they've just taken them off, or they've got it in pre-MLS status. And so we can we can find out about those properties to get you the absolute best house at the best price possible. Okay. And the fourth one here, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, as the best deals go quickly. Okay. So what I have found is if you rely on the public websites for that information, like the public apps like Redfin or Zillow, you're really missing out on the best deals. And so instead, what we do is we set you up as if you were an agent on my real estate team. And we give you that backdoor access to the MLS instant search feature. It's free. Of course, you're never obligated to buy a home. It just sounds like based on your situation, that may be helpful considering your timing here. Does it sound like that would interest you, or would that be helpful for you? Okay. So I'm making it sound very conversational. You'll see there's the actual script here on the page, but I'm adding some future pacing words. I'm adding some filler words to make it sound very off the cuff. I'm delivering it in a way that sounds like I just had this thought off the top of my head. And that's how you want it to sound. If you're doing this all day long, if you're describing these scenarios or handling these objections all day long, you need to not sound rote. You need to not sound memorized. You need to not sound like you're reading. And I will often have these playbooks right in front of me as I'm making my calls or I'm calling people back until I've memorized and internalized it. Okay. Even then, I sometimes just keep them in front of me where I make my calls in the mornings, typically when I'm setting appointments. So I trust this is helpful. We're going to keep it short and sweet today. That's the first of many handlers we're going to get into. Some of them are variations on this, but I trust you get the idea, which is back here to handlers for buyers. We need to stress that we have priority notification and we have proprietary information. So we can get them the information faster than any regular website or service or agent would. Again, it's not that those websites or those agents couldn't do that. It's just they don't operate their business this way with their buyers. Okay. So priority notification. And then the second is we have the ability to get them information that is simply not offered by most other agents or most other websites like pre-MLS, expireds, door knocking specific neighborhoods, mailing letters to particular, rifling in on particular properties that match exactly their criteria, whether it's like lakefront or something like that, or emailing our top seller prospects, like in our own database. You've probably got people that have said, well, we'd be open to moving. We wouldn't be against moving in the next, year or so. Well, let's play matchmaker, right? You've got all these resources that you can bring to bear for your buyer client to get them the best house at the best price. But it's your job to be able to explain this up front and do so in a compelling way, a articulate, compelling way that gives the buyer pause of thinking like, well, maybe there is some FOMO here. Maybe the way I have been doing this is really not the best way to do it. And when you do this, you're going to sound different than most other agents. Most other agents aren't doing this, you guys. Most of them are just saying, hey, I can show you a house. I mean, that's just being a garage door opener. Okay. We don't want to be a garage door opener. We don't want to be just the agent who gets them in the house. We want to be proactively working to bring value to our clients. And we're not saying that the best deal possible means under list price. Some agents misinterpret this or hear something different than what we're saying, which is we're saying we're going to get you the best house at the best price and terms. It might be literally securing this house instead of the next house that matches your buyer's criteria being 30, 60, 90 days down the road when maybe interest rates have changed or prices have gone up, or a ton of other factors that are always dynamic and changing in the market. Or It may be that we get the cream puff properties. We get maybe it's the same price as the other properties, but it just came on the market and wow, it's got an updated roof and it's got updated mechanicals and it's got, some very well thought out renovations or something like that. It's got a premium lot, a premium location in the neighborhood. Those kinds of things, those best deals can literally mean tens of thousands of dollars or more just in getting them there. And then we've got our ability to negotiate the best price and terms with the seller. Again, this always needs to be a win-win, right? The seller's not going to give the property away. So we're not over-promising. We're just describing this in a very compelling way that's going to resonate when they have their buyer hat on, when they're in that buyer mode, even if they need to sell their own house first. We want to get them in the door. We want to book that appointment with them and make it so compelling and handling their objections that they may try to throw at you because look, they're going to have objections. They're going to be skeptical even when they come in. I know they're going to be skeptical because if they've ever bought a house before, or if they've heard about how somebody else's experience went, they're probably kind of skeptical of real estate agents, right? They think we're going to try to sell them something instead of just let them buy something, which is really what they want. Nobody wants to be sold to. The second thing we want to do is we want to make sure that in that process that they're loyal to us. They understand why we're asking them to sign buyer agency, how we get paid, the benefits of buyer agency versus seller agency. Who does the listing agent represent? Who does the buyer agent represent? We can't get into that stuff over the phone. We have to focus on the most compelling things over the phone. And we're not going to get them to sign over the phone. We just want to get our foot in the door. We want to get an initial meeting and let them know there's absolutely there's no cost to this. There's no obligation to actually buy a home if you're going to do that, right? If they decide not to buy a home or they can't buy a home, they're not going to be out something. We're not going to be necessarily, at least out of the gate, we're not going to be asking for like a credit card or something like that. Like we're able to oftentimes, right? And this is changing now with the NAR settlement, but we're able oftentimes to have our fee included in the total purchase price of the home, financed into seller pay closing costs, however you want to word that, right? Showing up on the closing statement, all that kind of stuff. That we need to lower that perceived risk that there's going to be some kind of big, purchase. And it's it's really different than buying a car because when you're buying a car, you're just dealing directly with the dealership. That's like dealing with a listing agent, right? In our case, because these are huge purchases with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars at stake, a buyer's agent can bring a lot of value because it happens very infrequently and it's often the largest financial purchase that most people make by far. So we have a lot of room to make a huge impact. We have to be able to describe that well over the phone and handle any of the skepticism or any of the limiting beliefs, any of the drunk monkeys that our people that we're talking over the phone may have. So I trust you can use this. Go out, make good use of it, and we'll see you on the next call. Thanks.